All right, Week 8 brings me out to Dresden ahead of the TriValley John Glenn game. I know it's Friday the 13th, but I also know that all of our teams hope that they're on the good side of luck tonight. Listen, we have a big show for you tonight, and it all starts right now on
Gridiron Glory!
Hey, welcome back into Studio A for Friday number 8. I'm your host, Joseph Payton. We've got game coverage tonight as always, and be sure to stick around later on in the show as we discuss our Coach of the Year candidates. Now let's go ahead and get it started tonight with some TVC Ohio football. River Valley traveled to MacArthur tonight to meet up with Vinton County, and TVC Ohio reporter Thomas Garvrick was in the house for it.
Joey P., Vinton County is getting hot at the right time. Already having 2 losses in the TVC Ohio, tonight's game was a must-win to keep their championship hopes alive. And there's that bad man, Nayland Yates, and boy, did he have himself a night. On the opening drive, he finds his man Lincoln Hayes, who bounces off a Raider and gets in for 6. The ensuing Viking drive, Yates takes over this game with his legs. He takes the direct snap and gets around the outside for a pickup of 19 yards to put the Vikings in the red zone. The very next play, Yates rekindles his connection with Hayes for the duo's second touchdown of the night. But things go from bad to worse for the Raiders. Check this out. Now you see me, now you don't. Nevin Yates catches the deflected pass for the pick, but he wasn't done. Just like they drew it up in the backyard, Nayland Yates connects with Nevin on this beautiful 34-yard touchdown. Vikings lead 20-0. The next Raider drive, Patrick Brown connects with Peyton Barber to move the chains. Later in the drive, Cole Young caps it off to get the Raiders on the board. But Yates went right back to putting on a show. He picks up another first down with his legs. He sets himself up the next play with a QB keeper of his own, scoring from 12 yards out. He had 5 touchdowns and 320 yards on offense in the first half alone. Vikings steamroll the Raiders 41-13.
Steamroll indeed. Tommy Boy, why do you think the Raiders continue to be on the wrong side of these lopsided affairs?
You know, Joey P., this Vikings team, I think, is sick and tired of seeing me. This is the 3rd time I've seen these guys this year, and once again, they sang the same song. Patrick Brown in this offense again failed to muster up any sort of big plays. Things got so badly for Brown that he had to be pulled late in the second quarter, Joey P. Just not a good night for the senior single caller. But give the Vikings credit where credit is due. Garrett Maiden isn't the only dual-threat quarterback in the Ohio, and Nayland Yates balled out tonight. He beat the Raiders through the air and was devastating with his legs. Yates has taken his play to a whole new level during this team's 4-game winning streak. They're clicking at the right time as they have a date with the undefeated Buckeyes next week.
Well, Nayland, he's doing everything he can to keep his guys in the Ohio race. We'll see if they can pull off the upset next week in Nelsonville. Always a pleasure having you up here with me, Tommy. All right, now let's take it over to Twitter for a moment to check out our tweet of the week. Earlier today, we tweeted out a preview for the Athens-Wellston game from our Gridiron Glory account, and none other than Wellston's own Travis J. John weighed in. He says, hey, it's time to make a statement. Athens looked to be a tough test for the Golden Rockets tonight, but in just a moment, we will see if J. John and the boys made that statement he's talking about. Thanks for the tweet, man. And as we just hinted to, the Bulldogs traveled to Wellston tonight to take on the Golden Rockets. TVC Ohio reporters Clark Wicks and Paul Roth were there. What went down at C.H. Jones Field tonight, guys?
Well, Joey P., the Golden Rockets were trying to play spoiler tonight as the Bulldogs are the only remaining team that can steal the conference crown from the undefeated Nelsonville York Buckeyes.
And look at this. Wellston breaks through their brand new inflatable helmet with some spooky smoke. Athens got going early on their first drive as Clay Davis finds Trey Albin for 10 yards and the first down. I'm sure the Bulldogs were happy to have him back.
Now that catch from Albin sets up this run from Evan Adams, who gets brought down by Dakota Sass, and the ball is loose. But Adams is ruled down and the Bulldogs keep it. On the next play, Davis fakes the pass and hands it off to Adams, and you know he's not dropping the ball again. He runs through the Wellston defense for the 21-yard touchdown. Bulldogs lead 7-0 after their first drive.
After a Wellston touchdown, the Rockets are looking to pile on as they try to pound the run game, but Travis J. John loses the handle on it, and the Bulldogs take the ball back, and Clay Davis would make them pay for it as he finds Robert Dickelman in the corner for a score, putting Athens back on top 14-7.
Now Evan Adams gets the ball again, and this is just some bad luck for Wellston's Garrett Patton, who gets tossed to the side as Adam picks up the first down on the carry. A few plays later, the Bulldogs are looking to punt on 4th down, but Dickelman shows off his passing skills as he finds Nate Traynor on the sideline for a 30-yard gain and a first down. but the Wellston defense holds tough and forces the field goal attempt, which gets blocked, and it's going to be returned all the way to the Wellston 42. Wellston would score once more in the second half, but a blocked extra point is the difference maker here as Athens survives with a 13-14 win.
Well, what a nail-biter over there in Wellston. I know that Golden Rocket defense is tough. What did they do to slow down the Bulldogs tonight?
Well, actually, Joseph, both teams were able to move the ball with ease, but Wellston's defense was lights out when it mattered tonight.
I couldn't have said it better myself, Paul. Both of these offenses found success early on running the ball. Evan Adams for the Bulldogs finished with 116 yards on 21 carries, while Wellston's star back Travis J. John led the Golden Rockets running attack that combined for 242 yards and 2 touchdowns.
That's right, both teams seemed eager to focus on the run. Wellston didn't even attempt to pass until 4 minutes were left in the first half and finished with only 7 attempts in the whole game. But it was defense that was the story of the game tonight. While both teams were able to run all over the middle of the field, once they reached the red zone, it was over.
You're exactly right, Paul. The Bulldogs had all sorts of opportunities to add to their lead, but Wellston's defense held tough on the goal line. And like I said earlier, it eventually came down to a blocked extra point that keeps Athens in the running for the TVC Ohio title.
Well, just 2 more weeks till the Bulldogs host the Buckeyes for that TVC Ohio title. Thanks for the great work over there, guys. All right, for my weekly mission tonight, I took a nice little drive out to Dresden to hang out with some rowdy fans before the TriValley John Glenn game. And they didn't disappoint, so here's tonight's Fan of the Week. All right, I'm in the student section right now, but I'm greeted by Ralphie from the Christmas Story. Ralphie, what are you doing here?
I'm getting turned up for Friday night.
What gets you turned up for Friday night?
Just this atmosphere and, just dressing up and being with these guys, it's great. It feels awesome.
We're supporting for Breast Cancer Awareness Month. This is October, and we're wearing purple as well for our friend Tyler from John Glenn who lost his life. So we're just out here supporting.
And it's an awesome cause, and the thing is, when 2 teams get together for the same cause, that's amazing. We appreciate it, man. Right now, I was calling him Ralphie earlier, and rightfully so, but his name is actually Gabe. You might get a little warm in this tonight, so we're going to give you this right here. It's a T-shirt to cool you off. That's why you're a fan of the week, my man. Now, it may only be October, still 2 months till Christmas, but the Christmas Story Pink Nightmare look, it's an all-timer, a classic. Had to pay respect where it was due. All right, now back to the gridiron, though. Coming into tonight, Waterford, they needed 2 more wins to clinch the Hawking. And tonight we had TVC Hawking reporters Jerry Curvin and Duncan Goldberg to see if Waterford could take down the Southern Tornadoes. So, guys, how did it go down?
Well, Joey P., tonight was a great game. A real gritty slugfest from start to finish.
Yeah, Jerry, with this being homecoming night for the Tornadoes, you knew that they would be ready to give the Wildcats their all. And there are those Wildcats trying to keep their perfect conference record alive. In first play of the game, Waterford quarterback Peyton Stephen, he's going to keep the ball here and pick up a first down, but Southern stops the Wildcats on this drive.
But on Waterford's next drive, they really get things moving. The main man, Braden Belleville, rips off a big 19-yard gain on 3rd and 10 to keep the drive alive. Now, Duncan, I'm not saying Belleville is Superman, but have you ever seen him in the same place?
You ain't wrong, Jerry.
Now here on another long 3rd down, Stephen finds his guy Andrew Harebaker for a big first down.
Belleville back at it again, ripping through the Tornadoes defense on the very next play for 27-yard gain, which sets up Waterford for their first touchdown of the game, making it 6-0. But the touchdown, very controversial though. Jerry and I will touch on this topic a little later.
Then after stalling on their first 3 drives, Southern finally gets its offense cooking as Dylan Smith on 3rd down dances around the pocket, finds a seam, and turns a 15-yard gain. And capping off the drive, Riley Rouse powers up the gut and brings it home for a 6-for-6, knotting up things at the half. But Waterford would ultimately pull through 14-6 in a nail-biter.
All right, guys, you said there was a little controversy on that first Waterford touchdown. So what did you see?
Yeah, Joey P., Waterford had a bunch of chances on that goal line appearance, even getting themselves a 5th and goal.
Yeah, Joey P., here's the situation. Waterford fumbled on 2nd and goal, and the ref blew the play dead too early. In the midst of all the confusion, somebody forgot to mark the down, and the Wildcats ended up getting another 2nd down. Had the refs caught their mistake, Waterford would have turned the ball over on down 2 plays later. But on 5th and goal, Stevens found Ryan Thatcher in the corner of the end zone.
And it honestly didn't seem like too many people noticed either, but this changed the entire game. The fact that Waterford only won this game by 1 score really makes you wonder what would have happened if the refs got this one right. The Tornadoes were playing some of the best football that I have personally seen all season long tonight. And I'm not saying that would have changed the game, but you never know what could have happened.
Yeah, could it have probably changed the game? Yes, but in the end, it didn't. and Waterford it gets one step closer to defending their TVC Hawking crown.
Absolutely a big win for the Wildcats tonight. Thanks a lot, gentlemen. Hey, if you want to check out those highlights one more time, head over to the WOUB PBS YouTube channel. You can check out all the highlights from our show and even watch our show live on Fridays as it happens. So go find your favorite highlights and send them out to everybody. Send them to all your buddies. They can check it out too. All right, the FAC is the smallest conference in our coverage, and after tonight, those teams are halfway through their conference slate. Right now, 3 teams look like they could take it home this season. FAC fanatic Blake Baker, he's been watching closely all season long. So how would you describe this conference in its first year, Blake?
It's top heavy. Like you mentioned, 3 teams are looking head and shoulders above the rest so far. And one of those teams has come as a bit of a surprise to us. That team is the Hillsboro Indians. Last season they were 4-6, and entering this week they were 5-2. They were coming off an emotional win at home, homecoming against Washington Courthouse. But unfortunately for the Indians tonight, a 28-6 loss to Jackson. They couldn't slow down that Ironman rushing attack or control the ball long enough to pull this one out tonight.
So, Blake, this is a loss for Hillsboro, as you just mentioned. Kind of put that into perspective for us. What's it mean?
The outlook in the long run is not too good for the Indians. They sat at number 11 in their respective region before this game, and with the loss, it doesn't help them a whole lot. They play the 2 worst teams in their conference in the next 2 weeks. That win would have done a lot for them. They're going to need some serious help to get to Week 11.
Right, and you just mentioned Week 11, so talk to me a little bit about the playoffs and their season as a whole.
So, well, despite the potential of missing the playoffs, the Indians have no reason to hang their heads. This is the first guaranteed 500 or better record since 2009, and Coach O'Rourke just keeps on building. He doubled the win total last season and has the potential to nearly double it again this season. They found a group of core playmakers, and they did not disappoint this year. It wasn't the results that they'd hoped for, but great competitive turnaround from these guys.
Absolutely, a huge competitive turnaround for them. So now let's transition. I want you to talk to me a little bit about Jackson and Chillicothe.
So these teams are very similar and very different in a lot of ways. Differently, Jackson has converted 5 of their last 7 conference title chances, while Chillicothe hasn't won a league championship since 1990. But similarly, they're both well coached, they both have a stout defense, and they're both led by star ball carriers.
All right, we're led by star ball carriers. So talk to me about those guys that lead the offense.
Yeah, I guarantee you've heard about these guys, and I guarantee you're going to keep hearing about them. Blake McCoy, he's a downhill runner who plays for the Ironmen, great in the backfield, great vision. He's not afraid to lower his shoulder, and he can definitely outrun you too. He's an experienced runner. Like I said, he's been a big part of that backfield for a long time. And Brandon Moffmer, on the other hand, is dynamic, elusive. He gets the ball on a ton of different opportunities. He designed runs for him. He's got the ball on scrambles. He keeps the defense on their toes, and he's a great playmaker.
All right, so we talked about the offense, but who do you think would have the upper hand on defense?
It's got to be Jackson. They're the best defense in the league. They've allowed at least 40 fewer points than the next best defense, and they're allowing around 15 points a game. But to win in Week 10 against Chillicothe, they got to make Moffmer more one-dimensional. They can't allow him to skitter out on the perimeter and get out in space and beat him to the outside. The Ironmen are going to be tested with the playmakers from the Cavaliers, and I'm expecting a great battle this one in Week 10.
All right, so now put this into perspective, the historical value of Jackson and Chillicothe leading into Week 10.
Yeah, the last 5 years, it's been pretty dominated by Jackson, but Chillicothe does have a 1-game winning streak, and that's going to go a long way for him in momentum. It was a thriller at Herrnstein Field last year. Jackson missed a last-second field goal, and that resulted in a Chillicothe win. And 3 of the past 5 matchups were decided by 3 points or fewer, and there was an overtime contest too. So this season this year, we're thinking it's going to be for all the marbles, in Jackson Week 10.
All right, now before we let you go, let's talk a little bit about playoffs briefly.
Yeah, so it's almost the exact same scenario for both teams. A win at Hillsboro tonight really helps Jackson, and in the respective regions, they're both at 7. They both need to win out to ensure a playoff berth.
Well, good stuff for you, Blake. You're always bringing the analysis, and we appreciate it, my man. All right, heading over to the SVC now. Piketon, they were on the road this week against Huntington, and we had Taylor Nimmo out there. She's an SVC reporter. These 2 teams, they really like to air it out, but did they switch it up, or is that what you saw out there tonight?
Well, Joey P., you're exactly right. These 2 teams are ranked 2 and 3 in the conference for total passing yards, and tonight, these guys stuck to what they knew. They were 3 touchdowns in the first half, and all of them were through the air. From the very start, the momentum was in Piketon's favor. They weren't wasting any time. Piketon's very first possession, they scored right off the bat. Piketon quarterback Connor Galloway hits a 77-yard pass to Tanner Veach, putting them up 7-0 very early, but Galloway wasn't slowing down. He keeps those passes coming. Total of 290 passing yards tonight. Piketon's offense was definitely a threat. They have a lot of talent and they're quick. The Huntsman defense had a tough time trying to adapt to such fast play, but it wasn't just Piketon's offense with all the production. I mean, their defense was also playing strong. After the first half, it felt like it should be a blowout at this point, but the score didn't necessarily reflect that. Huntington was able to get something going, scored at the very end of the second quarter. Piketon's leading 14-7 at half, and at this point, momentum aside, looking at the scoreboard, it was still anybody's game.
You mentioned momentum, so let's talk about it. The feeling was in favor of Piketon. Where was Huntington struggling, though? What was the difference between these two?
Well, Joey P., when it came to Huntington's possessions, an aggressive Piketon defense allowed for little opportunities. The Red Streaks defense shut down that Huntsman offense despite a strong quarterback. Elijah McCloskey, he's third in the league in passing yards. He's fourth in rushing, and he's leading the conference in touchdowns. But Piketon says, hey, not today. They shut that down. And Huntington had much longer possessions, but their execution is what's lacking. Huntington had 4 total trips to the red zone and only managed 7 points the entire game. Huntington couldn't ever find that groove, and Piketon went on to win 21-7.
Absolutely, and we appreciate the good work from you tonight, Taylor. All right, now let's check out our Snapchat of the week coming out of Nelsonville. This is Buckeye head coach Rusty Richards. One of his players says, Coach loses more hair than he does ball games. You know what? I'm going to let Coach decide if that is an insult or a compliment. You may have just now earned more of his respect or possibly earned some grass drills this week in practice. Regardless, that is an incredible Snapchat. We appreciate it. We just saw last year's Coach of the Year in Rusty Richards, so let's talk 2017 Coach of the Year. Senior reporter Josh Gregory joins me now to look at some of the coaches who have caught our attention this year. So Josh, give us a rundown of these guys.
Gladly, Joey P. And I think you're going to see a little bit of a correlation between our Player of the Year watch list and our Coach of the Year list. And that's because the better players and better coaches equal better teams, and those teams are the ones turning heads. It's simple math. Here are the 5 coaches that catch my attention, though. Each one comes from one of our 5 conferences we've got. And here we go. Rusty Richards from Nelsonville, York. Andy Hall from Jackson. Matt Edwards from John Glenn. Eric McCutcheon from Waterford. And last but not least, Evan Gallagher from Southeastern.
Oh, that's a solid list there, but Richards won the award last year. Why is he a contender again?
Because of his consistency, Joey P. After losing strong offensive players like Hunter Edwards and Alex Mount, the Buckeyes haven't missed a beat, and that's thanks to Richards. They're one of only 2 teams in our coverage area with a perfect record this season, which is better than this point of the season last year for them. Richards has done a great job of prepping Garrett Maiden at quarterback and Keegan Wilburn at tailback, and so I don't see that perfect record going away anytime soon. And speaking of coaches that have won the award recently, Hall was named GG Coach of the Year 3 years ago back in 2014 with a young Blake McCoy. I mentioned the pattern between players and coaches, and this is it right here. Other than a loss to undefeated Wheelersburg, the Ironmen have dominated their schedule. The team was ranked 7th in Division III Region 11 in the OHSAA computer poll before tonight.
Now, both Hall and Richards are veteran coaches for sure, but we can't say the same about Edwards at John Glenn, though.
He's only been with John Glenn for 3 years, but he has already completely turned the program around. In his first season, the Little Muskies finished 3-8 and then finished 4-6 last year, and right now they are 6-2 and looking at potential postseason action for the first time since 2013. And just like Edwards, McCutcheon is still fairly new to his squad, but in his 2-year tenure with Waterford, he has been at the top of the TVC Hawking. He started after Waterford finished 5-5 in 2015, and the next year took them straight into the playoffs. Even after losing offensive weapons like Tyler McCutcheon and Isaac Huffman, Coach McCutcheon is on track to make it to the playoffs after doing a good job of developing running back Braden Belleville into a Hawking powerhouse. You heard Jerry Kervin call him Mr. Superman himself.
Absolutely, and rounding out the gang, Southeastern head coach Evan Gallagher.
Now, the Panthers are the other team in our coverage area with a perfect record, so it's no surprise that he's on our list. But nobody would have guessed that Southeastern would be at the top of the SVC, so Gallagher, he sure proved us wrong, and his team is the real deal this year. You'll hear Anthony Marino talk about him in just a few minutes.
That's right, those are 5 stud head coaches. Josh, we appreciate the good work, my man. So one way that you can let us know who you think should win Coach of the Year is Facebook. Get on your laptop or on your phone on the Facebook app and go like our page, Gridiron Glory. All of our online content gets linked on our timeline for your viewing pleasure. And as I said, use this as a way to let us know who you think should win Coach of the Year and even Player of the Year. Trust me, we want to hear from you guys. We would appreciate it. So tonight, the Southeastern Panthers hit the road to meet up with Paint Valley, and we had Anthony Marino there to check it out.
Tonight, Southeastern's all season has proven that they are the dominant force in the SVC, and they definitely showed it tonight. Lane Ruby got the party started early with a touchdown run on their first possession, and he didn't stop there. He rushed for 2 more touchdowns in the first half, including 85-yard touchdown run late in the second quarter to put Southeastern up 21-0. The Piketon Valley defense wasn't able to stop the unique offense of Southeastern, who was able to move the ball on basically all of their possessions in the first half. One of the keys that helped them accomplish this was establishing the line of scrimmage up front in the trenches. Southeastern's line blew open holes for Lane, Hauser, and Stauffer to march the ball down the field, ultimately leading in a score. Piketon Valley wasn't completely out of this game. Southeastern was not kicking the ball deep, giving Piketon Valley good field possession in the first half, but they were able to push the ball down the field and even get in the red zone, but they were just unable to punch it in. Piketon Valley at the end of the first half was threatening to score, but that drive was stalled. Southeastern win the locker room leading 21-0 and will attack on a couple more scores, winning this one big 40-6.
Now, Anthony, even though the score seemed one-sided, was Piketon Valley able to move the ball and maybe get into the end zone?
They were, Joey P, but missed opportunities and poorly timed penalties halted drives in the red zone and Southeastern side of the field. Piketon Valley made multiple trips within Southeastern's 30, but came up empty every time. If they were able to score maybe once or twice in the first half, get some momentum on their side, this game could have easily been in favor of Piketon Valley.
Absolutely. It seems like every team in the SVC is looking to take them down. Anthony, thanks for the great work tonight, my man. All right, Maysville and Philo, they came into Week 8 both 5-2 and both on a 2-game winning streak. But after tonight, one of them had to end. MVL reporter Rebecca Markovitz was in Duncan Falls tonight to break it down.
Well, Joseph, last year, Philo beat Maysville for the first time in 4 years, but they were not able to do it again this year. The Panthers won 13-10. However, it was not an easy win. Both teams struggled in the beginning.
Well, how come the Panthers and Electrics had trouble getting any offensive plays going then?
It all came down to just overall sloppy offensive play. A blocked punt, fumbles, interceptions, and lots of penalties. Philo fumbled the ball on the first play of the game, but not only did they fumble it once, they fumbled it 3 times, and that just really killed their momentum. Penalties also killed Philo's momentum. They had 2 potential touchdowns in the first half, both stopped by penalties. They carried the ball all the way from the 1-yard line to the 96-yard line, but a false start on the 4th down conversion attempt forced them to punt a field goal. And then they almost had a game-changing pick 6, but they were unable to put those points on the board. Philo may have been haunted by fumbles and penalties, but they shut down Maysville's passing game. They intercepted 3 of Maysville's throws, one of which kept Philo in the game for just a bit. Maysville just didn't perform well in the red zone and gave up a potential touchdown where Connor Sidwell had trouble connecting with his receiver and accidentally found a blue jersey on the 2-yard line. It was a defensive game for both teams in the first half.
Defensive in the first half, but what changed in the second half?
Well, last year, the Panthers were down 21-0 at half, but this year it was 3-0. They were able to stay within reach of Philo, which gave them motivation to stay in the game. The offense woke up and started scoring some touchdowns. Maysville scored first, but that was not enough. They wanted more, and they got more. The defense also shut down Isaac Gill. He reached his 1,000-yard passing milestone this game, but it was all about Maysville. Both teams struggled to put points on the board, but Maysville changed that in the second half and pulled away with an upsetting win on Philo's home field.
Well, we appreciate the good work for us there, Rebecca. In keeping with the MVL trend now, John Glenn and TriValley, they met up tonight in Dresden. We knew it would have an electric playoff-like atmosphere, and that is why it was our game of the week. Excuse me. Now let's get right to what happened between these two schools on the field tonight. MVL reporter Scott McDonald was there and now joins us live from Zanesville.
Game of the week, a potential for another 3-way tie atop of the MVL, playoff implications on the line, and 2 of the most stout defenses in our coverage going head-to-head at Jack Anderson Field. This game lived up to its billing. TriValley can all but win the MVL with a win, and John Glenn can potentially claim a piece of the crown with an upset. First quarter, first drive for TriValley, and they made it look easy. Newsome on this 23-yard keeper sets up first and goal inside the 5. Next play, quads right, and Jake McLaughlin on the left Man covered and the cornerback gives out outside leverage. That's an easy out route for 6.70 Scotties. Then on TriValley's next possession, the Little Muskies defense was tired from the long drive that sets up Jake McLaughlin down the sideline, drags his feet, 22-yard touchdown pass, 14-0 in the first. The Little Muskies weren't giving up that easy. Haycock drops back, and he hits his man Casey Smith beautifully in stride. Beautiful touch, beautiful touchdown, 46 yards, 14-7. Ensuing kickoff, Chase Tynan takes it all the way in John Glenn territory, but fumbles. John Glenn recovers it right before the end of the half. TriValley would pay for that mistake. Haycock drops back, and he rolls right, and he hits Shane Bonner for the 28-yard touchdown to make it 14-13, but John Glenn would miss the extra point and wouldn't score again in this one as the Scotties take this one 20-13.
All right, Scott, why were the Little Muskies unable to get anything going on offense?
Well, Buttermore had his boys ready for this game. They watched the film. At times, the John Glenn offense seemed predictable on those read options. The Scotties knew Haycock was going to hand the ball off and stuffed it almost every time. The screens were being snuffed out, and TriValley is just too fast at the skill positions, and you cannot out-athlete them the way the Muskies were trying.
All right, so what does this win mean for TriValley?
Simply put, they are one game away from being crowned MVL champions. Philo lost tonight, which means if the Scotties beat winless West Muskingum next week, they will be outright champions, but they will need to beat Maysville the last week of the season to really secure a playoff berth.
All right, Scott, what do you think about John Glenn and their playoff hopes now?
Well, they're still very much in it. They came in ranked 3 in their region, and this loss isn't going to deter their standings too much. And if they win against New Lexington next week and Crooksville the week after to close out the season, they should be just fine.
All right, good stuff from you out there, Scott. We appreciate the work you put in. Safe travels tonight. All right, we say it almost every week. We cover big games, so of course we have big plays. We looked at everything we got tonight, and we found tonight's top plays. And play number 3 comes from the Philo-Maysville game, and this is something you don't see often in high school football. Let's take a look at it. Philo out to punt, and Maysville blocks it like LeBron in Game 7 of the NBA Finals last summer. Gritty play there. Easton Smith comes down with it, returns it deep into Philo territory. Now let's move to play number 2. Athens and Wellston on 4th and 13. Athens out to punt. Although this is a fake, I still know that Robert Dickelman is a real one. Fires it downfield. Nate Trainer wide open, a 34-yard pickup for the first down. And now play number 1, back to Philo, Maysville. Panthers looking to throw it, but Philo's Cole Smith has got the hands, pulls that one down for the pick. He kept his receipt, ladies and gentlemen, and now he would like to return it to the fun zone. Psych, it came back for a flag. Still a great play, though. You love to see that. All right, this week was fun, and now there's only 2 more weeks left in the regular season. Let's show you where you can expect to see us in Week 9. The Sheridan Generals, they have a date in Crooksville next Friday night with the Ceramics. McLean, they have a tough road test against the Jackson Ironmen at Holzer Field. Always a hostile environment at Holzer Field with Jackson. Belpre and Eastern, a rematch of the TVC Hawkins Game of the Year last season. Belpre, they won on a last-minute touchdown, so it has to be exciting. You would expect that. Rounding it out, the Trimble Tomcats head over to Albany to take on the Alexander Spartans in a TVC Hawking versus TVC Ohio bout. You love to see when we get teams from different conferences going at it. That always makes for, some bragging rights that you don't normally see every single year, but it's always fun to watch that, and I want everybody to watch our show next week. We appreciate you watching tonight, so be sure to tune in next week. And remember, there is nothing better than Friday nights and Gridiron Glory.